Hello. We are talking about writing. I'm talking with one of my favorite writers in the whole world who refuses to write, Emily Bartran, who's the co-director along with Molly, uh, Elephant Journal. And Emily, where am I talking to you from?
I am in Syracuse, New York.
Cool. So I think we want to cover a couple of subjects. One is like, why do people who love writing and reading not write?
Mm-hmm.
Or
I'm a pro on that one.
Yeah, you're an expert. You're a worldwide expert. In my mind, your voice is as powerful as anyone I've ever read. Michael Pollan, what's her face? Eat, Pray, Love. Elizabeth Gilbert. I was like, Elizabeth Bennet. Elizabeth Bennet is the star of what's her face. Anyway, you're a wonderful writer. So, and more to the point, like, how do we get through that to actually start writing? And you're a tough nut to crack because you even lead writing programs and still don't write. So, and I've seen your writing for many years, so I know you love it. Like, you love writing, right?
I do.
Yeah. So why do you not just sit down, even for yourself, or do you, and just write?
So I am one of those people who's like a crippling, perfectionist, like, isn't the right word, but I have this thing where I'm like, unless I know what I'm going to say, I don't want to start saying it. And I that for me, it carries through with like my verbal interactions too. I just like overthink and kind of under deliver my words, I would say. So I think for me, it's like, I don't,
look at my screen.
Oh, it looks great. Is your screen not working?
I can't see you.
Oh no.
Go ahead. I'll listen to your voice. Podcast, except one way.
So yeah, I don't know. I think that I have a lot of like thoughts, and then I just, because I don't know where they're going, I just sit on them. But that is the obvious flaw there, is that you don't figure out how to write by not writing. So yeah, it's kind of just it's a block in my head of like wanting to know what I'm going to say before I say it. And I don't think that that's an effective process, obviously, because I never write.
But so now I'm trying to like not look at my own video. That's why I'm blocking it with my phone. So I guess like the obvious question as someone who teaches writing and also who writes, Redford, is, why don't you just sit down and write, and you'll just stop overthinking. And you're like, right now you're like a backed up, like, I think of plumbing pipes or something. Like everything you just said isn't really a problem. You just have to kind of, start letting go. Like, I think the first article I remember loving by you was about letting go. So maybe that's a nice segue to be like, what are your thoughts? So if you sat down with yourself or whatever right now and you said, Emily, do you want to write?
Uh-oh, we've lost Waylon. So I think I'm still here, but I don't think that Waylon is. And the question he was going for, it sounds like, was, do you want to write? Hello. It's trying to read your mind.
How much of that did you miss?
I got to you asking me to ask myself,
yeah,
do you want to write?
Yeah, okay, you didn't miss anything. So I guess, yeah, if you like writing and it's a skill you have, do you ever just sit down and say, is this important to me? Is this something I want to do? Does this actually help me enjoy and function, enjoy my life and function as a human being?
I don't ever ask myself that question. And I think, I don't know, I feel like I'm just full of excuses today, that maybe I should just get them all out there so you can tell me why they're like things I can work through. But
I have excuses. It's not about like, you're not on trial. Like, you're not and I'm Tom Cruise in whatever it's called. You can't handle the truth. But yeah, I mean, is writing important to you? Is your voice Is your writing actually important to your life? Because you're having a great time. You fell in love. You're moving to England. You have a cool job. You love your family. Like, is writing actually matter? Or are you just kind of, you're good. You're good not doing it. Because that, I think, is also okay as a writer to say, look, maybe this isn't the season for me.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it. Like where I am, I think where I was when I was writing more, and I don't want to fall into the trap of like, oh, you write when you're sad, because I don't think that that's true on the whole. And I don't think that's the only way. We had this discussion the other day in one of our other videos, but like, I don't think that all art comes from pain and all that. But I think at that point in my life, when I was writing more, I was trying to like explore more of like who I was and what I wanted to do. And so that those questions were coming out more in my writing. And now I'm like feeling like, you know, I could write about my relationship. I could write about moving, but I don't know that I have like an authority on those things to write about them.
See, I think that's the mistake, is you don't almost ever write from a point of view of authority.
Mm-hmm.
When it's genuine writing, when it's your voice, you write from the only authority you have. I wrote a whole book about love. Do you think I'm an authority on love? Me. Right? Need I say more? Is the only authority you have is your own experience, right? And
right.
Your study of other people's wisdom. So writing, that's cathartic writing, which we talk about in the academy, is with that feeling when you write and you're like unburdening yourself of years of pent up, like great thoughts and insights that just never gave birth because they're just all tangled up in a knot in the bottom of your bag.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And suddenly you like let them go, and like, you know, the angels sing and the breeze, it's like opening up a window for the first time in a couple hours on a spring day, and suddenly you're like, oh, fresh air. Or that feeling when you're camping and you go and you look outside. So
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, could you write about falling in love and all the hassles with the green card stuff or whatever it's called in England and all that stuff, all that change, and just being human? You don't even need a story to write about, just your experience day to day. Could you write about that from, not from the point of view of authority, but just from your experience?
Yeah, and I think that's where I know, like in my head, I know that I won't ever figure out what I have to say about something until I start saying it. And that's something that I like, that emotion I remember vividly from writing stuff in the past. Like I get to this point in the writing process where I'm like, holy shit, this is what I wanted to like say, or this is kind of what I was getting at and didn't even know I was getting at. And it's like a wonderful feeling. And I sort of lose sight of that when I think too much about like, why am I writing this? What am I going to say? How am I going to say it?
Yeah. I mean, and my advice to people who are kind of writer's blocky is, number one, like, stop trying to get through writer's block. Stop trying to, you know what I say about it. Stop trying to bully writer's block. Stop trying to conquer writer's block. Ugh. Writer's block is you. Writer's block is me. It's not some outside thing. You don't want to conquer yourself. You don't want to bully yourself. You don't want to get through yourself. That one almost sounds okay, but you want to just like make friends with it. Like, what is the writer's block trying to tell me? And in your case, it's trying to say, maybe, you know, what? I don't know. I don't want to mansplain you. What do you think it's saying? Like, why, you know, is it just, Emily, maybe stop trying to be perfect or write from the point of view of authority. Maybe just write for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's probably telling me to stop, like, stop overthinking things, stop trying to have the answers. That's something that I also struggle with outside of my writing life, is like wanting to know what'll happen 3 months down the line before I make a decision and things like that. So I think.
But that's what comes back to my advice, which is, I always say, write about the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Write about, like, you know, the title of your new article is like, I always want to know what's happening 3 months from now. And I'm totally effed. Like, you know, just like, gotta let go. This is like therapy for writers.
I feel like I'm like, I'm going to have a breakthrough here.
I need a mustache. and I should overcharge you. So this is the kind of stuff we talk about in Elephant Academy. I think you can spend a whole lifetime like trying to bully writer's block or trying to, not writing, which, you don't need to be a writer to write is the other thing we talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because it's like everyone's equal and everyone's happy and school without walls and kumbaya. There is such a thing as awful writing, but it's not a big sin. It's like sit down and write some crap and then write some more crap and then read some amazing stuff that inspires you and write some more crap. And before you know it, you'll like write about that time you had that stupid miscommunication with your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend and how you regret that. And it's not a big deal, but you still remember it 8 years later. And then boom, it'll be just your experience, no authority except about your own experience. And you'll be free of that thinking thing. And everyone who reads it, and this is why we call it cathartic, why it's actually helpful for others, everyone who reads that will think of their ex-boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, that thing left unsaid or that weird insult that's hanging in the air 8 years later, and they'll be free of it because they'll reflect on how they'll feel you get through it. It's really like magical.
Yeah, and I think like there's some weird preconceptions that we all have, and they're all different, I think, for all of us, but like people who think, oh, I need to be a writer, like what does that mean? Because oftentimes the things that people connect the most with, to your point, are just like those moments where you say something that's so genuine, and it doesn't have to be in this, language that's all flowery and perfect and beautiful. It's just you speaking and telling your story, and that is something that people can relate to. So yeah, and I think, again, with my perfectionism, I just gotta shove that aside because I think it doesn't help.
Do you?
Do I need to shove it aside?
You could write about it.
Write it. That feels like a brutal task to like.
Well, write about how it feels like a brutal task. Like you write about the problem. So in Buddhism, we say you be more over it, like more over. So here's your blah, 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 blah thoughts, right? Mm-hmm. And they're actually not a problem. Like people are like, I can't meditate. I think all the time. And Buddhist people like me are like, it's not like you stop thinking. You don't really want to stop thinking. I'm Waylon. I haven't had a thought in 3 years. Huevos, doesn't make sense, but you do want to be like more over your thoughts. So you have a little perspective. So you're like, you're pissed or you're sad or you're speedy. And you want to have a little bit of like, oh, wow, I'm really speedy right now. That's not my dog's fault, that he's moving quickly, that he wants to smell this goddamn bush for 20 seconds. It feels like 5 minutes. You have to breathe. So it's just like, write about your perfectionism, and it doesn't have to be brutal. It could be your lifelong romance with perfectionism. And your perfectionism also has a lot of beautiful things it probably gives you. I mean, you are one of the most perfect people to work with ever. And you're full of heart, and you're a big sweetie. So it's like, it's not like perfectionism has ruined your life. It's part of what makes you you. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to like shove it aside. I feel like you're not listening, Emily.
Yeah, no, I shouldn't. No, that's a good point. And I think that's like what's the saying? Well, you said, can I quote you in your own conversation? When you were talking about like, writing about the problem, the way that you said it that always sticks with me is like, write about the elephant in the room. And if you can't write about the room, write about the elephant. But to extrapolate on that, like, I think,
you'll have to explain that quote to me because I don't get it.
Really? Oh my God. It's like, honestly, I think
about the elephant in the room, that part I get. But then if there's no elephant in the room?
If you can't write about the room, write about the elephant. Or maybe it was the other way around. If you can't write about the elephant, write about the room. Yeah, but just I
think that was like your quote and you gave me credit for it.
It was definitely you, but I'll take credit for it if you want. But yeah, like, this sounds very cliche, but like finding those strengths and weaknesses and not shoving to the side because you think it's wrong or bad or anything, whether it's like your talent that you're insecure about or your topics or your whatever, like there can be good in it, and taking the time to write about it, note to self, can like help you work through that and recognize both sides of it.
So Emily and I wanted to sort of have this conversation. Emily can also turn the tables and grill me and make me uncomfortable if you like, no need. Because today is the final day for $100 off, which is a great deal, the Elephant Academy, where we actually train. We have mentors, we have small groups, we have big groups, which is live meetings with me and other mentors. We have a whole online library of quizzes and blah, blah, blah. And we actually are going to write for 2 months, which is a wonderful way to start off the new year, and a wonderful way to start off a new year that happens to be the first year of a new decade. And as I was saying in our little green room, like, you can't go grocery shop properly, right, if you haven't found your voice. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're struggling with who you are and you're shooting yourself and you're, I shouldn't get ice cream, or I should get ice cream, or I should get this, or I should be vegan, blah. You can't function. You just, to find your genuine voice, especially if you have guilt and stresses and perfectionism and all these like fun characters in your Emily or Waylon mythology of your worldview, to be able to just write about it you know, it reminds me of the title of that beautiful movie by Merchant or Ivory, I forget, but Call Me by Your Name. You're like, actually, like, hello, perfectionism. Let me listen to you. Let's talk. Instead of like fighting with yourself your whole life. And we all do that. And it's so human and okay, but it's also so like, wow, it's unnecessary, you know?
Yeah.
Like your atlas with the globe, you know, holding this globe. And then one day you could be like, oh, I can put this down and write about it. And help people in that.
Yeah. And interestingly, when I was writing the most, and when I met Waylon virtually for the first time, was when I was in the academy. So it's, funny how, I don't know, I've come full circle here, but I've lost the thing that started it all. So
yeah, it's sort of like, you began, I mean, that's also what happens, right? You become a young man or woman, you start working full time, you like, when work is over, maybe you don't want to do the thing that's sort of related to what your job is. Mm-hmm. But we all have, that's an excuse, right? We're all parents, or we're all in college, or we're all busy, or we're all depressed, or we're all like, we all have reasons not to write. So it shouldn't be like that there's pressure to write, because who cares about writing? Like, if you invited me to a writer's conference, I don't know that if I would really want to go that much, unless it was in Ireland or something and everyone was wearing tweed. But like, if you invited me to a conference of a bunch of people sharing their genuine voice cathartically, I'd be like, oh yeah, I would love to go. That sounds like a jazz club or something, like just genuine expression without BS. And that's very similar. So at Naropa University, where my mom taught, that's what they call contemplative education, that it's not really about writing. That's my point with the conference thing. Writing isn't about writing. Who cares about writing? It's just a bunch of pretentious idiots with words, right? But writing is about life, and writing is about the world, and writing is about your human experience of yourself, and writing is about the fires in Australia, and writing is about Brexit, and writing is about Meghan Markle, you know, being unhappy with her treatment in the tabloid press and wanting to go to Canada or whatever. Writing is about, you know, connecting with the whole world, however you show up, which could be the most introverted person in the world or not.
Yeah. I when I was thinking last night to myself, should have written it, about like sort of why we do writing, and does it matter, and like why do I want people, why do I like participate in this course on writing and not write, and what is the point and all that. And I think whether you're thinking about it on a small scale or a worldwide scale, the power, not in an authoritative way, but like the power that we have to affect people is so meaningful. And that's why, like, I feel like a giant hypocrite, because we've just talked about all the reasons that I don't write, but like I genuinely want other people to explore that craft, because I have like vivid memories of articles that have stuck in my head for years, or like one comment on something that I wrote that somebody has connected with. And that ripple goes beyond what we can measure. And like, to your point, to then take it to Australia and to take it to people who we've never met and countries that we've never been to, like, that's amazing.
Yeah. No, it is. It's magic. I always say, because I'm an old man and I like studied journalism in the 90s, I always say my graduation gift from Boston University was an email address. They were like, as your graduation gift, we are going to give you this thing called an email address. But it's magic. Like when you read Harry Potter in 2000, like the fact that I've said this 80 times to you, but that, the images are moving in the newspaper was considered magic. And that's literally what a blog is. Like I was just writing about Pendleton and how they're like getting popular, this great made in the USA company that's been around forever. And as soon as the company gets popular, they start making stuff overseas out of plastic, going against everything that Pendleton is about, which is a woolen mill made in the United States, helping out Native American tribes and like amazing work. And now they're making dog beds that are full of polyester plastic, made out of polyester, made overseas. And I'm not even hating on them because I love all their other stuff, but raising that awareness where people are spending a couple $100 for their lovely dogs, my dog's right here, but they're really just buying a plastic bag full of plastic, made overseas, shipped in a container ship, which connects with climate change. And or Canada goose coats. I just wrote about how fur is making a comeback. It's heartbreaking. It's coyote moms tearing off their own arms so they can get back to their little cubs in the cave. You can write about anything. It doesn't have to be like my breakup, my whatever. Mm-hmm. Just share awareness. And in this world, we've seen the power of that little girl, Greta Thunberg, in like a year, maybe a little more, to just through her voice, nothing else really, helping inspire and awaken the whole world. And I'm a environmentalist. I've won some environmental wars. She inspired me to think about flying, which I always have, but like to really think, wow, maybe flying is actually kind of immoral. And maybe you could take a train or you could offset the flights, but actually offset it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm ranting, but like, just to your point, writing isn't like me and my desk and my tea. Writing, it is that, but it's also can change the world. And it doesn't have to be about environmentalism. It can be about your own experience.
Yeah.
I think we have a couple comments. Do you want to read something? I don't know.
Yeah. So Paula asked, where do I sign up if I'm interested? So that would be, so Paula's talking about Elephant Academy if you're just joining us or if you're not. So Elephant Academy is where we write together for 2 months, and we'll start in February, and we're very excited. And I promise, because you are all witness now, that I will also write in February.
She won't.
But to sign up.
She will trip herself. She will pressure herself. She will should herself, but then she won't write. And those two, that's why I'm always saying, like, stop putting that pressure on yourself and just say, maybe I don't want to write right now. And it's a way to fake out your guilt trippiness, because then you relax and you're like, oh, I don't need all that. And then you can write out of joy instead of out of should.
Sure, I can reverse psychology myself. Yeah. But so to sign up, you'll head to elephantjournal.com/academy. Yeah. And you can also send us an email if you have any questions. So Molly, I'm not Molly, I'm Emily, but myself, Molly, and then Nicole, who also works on our Academy team, will answer any of your questions. We love talking to you guys and hearing what questions you do have. So if you want to email us and learn more, you can email us at academy@elephantjournal.com. And I think that will be in the comments on Facebook for you too.
And how many folks are already signed up right now?
So right now we have about 52 people, I think.
So typically we have like 100, today being the last day to get $100 off. So, if you're thinking about it, go for it. If you feel like taking a leap or a jump today, not tomorrow, because you'll save $100. Mm-hmm. And the worst that happens is you wind up writing in a joyful, mindful international community and finding your voice for 2 months. The best that happens is you wind up writing in a joyful, mindful community, finding your voice for 2 months. It really just is what it is. And it's pretty, I always like to say it's the favorite thing I get to do. So we had 3 topics. That was one of them, right? The kind of pressure on yourself or something?
Yeah, like, and so we want to talk about insecurity and sort of working through that as a writer and how that can lead to writer's block. And then what was our other topic?
One was just talk about anything that comes up, which I think we might have already done.
And it's just what sparks your writing and what stops you.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What sparks your writing?
You touched on.
Yeah, I think we touched about that. I'm mixing my words up here. So I think, like, in my mind, I want to know, I mean, so you write an editor's letter for the newsletter 6 days a week. You wrote a book. You've started another book. You sometimes write and sometimes don't, but you, on the whole, you write like 1,000 times more than I do. So, like, what is it? How do you find something to write about every single day in an editor's letter? And, like, you know, where does that come from for you?
That's a great question. I think typically there's already stuff on your mind or in your heart, you know? Like, do you care about anything?
Yes.
Like, what's something you care about?
I recently am very into learning about like sustainable fashion.
Right. So you look up a company you admire, you find a video on YouTube, you watch it, you have some thoughts, you write about, you know, the damaging effects of fashion or fast fashion or vegetable dyes or some little piece. You know, often in the academy, I talk about specificity, which is one of my favorite words. Be specific. Generalizations do nothing. If I'm on a date with someone and I'm like, and they're like, how, you know, who are you? How are you doing? I'm like, things are good. I am a man in the world and I am doing different things from time to time. Sometimes things are good. Sometimes things are not so good, you know? They're going to be like, what? You just didn't say anything. But if you're specific, if you say, well, I'm working all the time. I'm a little bored, frankly, but it's a sort of wholesome boredom. Basically what I do is I run around with my dog and I go to cafes and I love my community and my community loves me. And that just is like daily ordinary joy for me. And I care about the environment. I'm super pissed off, frankly, that people aren't vegan. Like, what do we need to know about the world and climate? You know, you can see me getting worked up. And that's a very different energy when you get specific than when you're general. So basically, as long as you have found your voice, which is what we will help you do in Elephant Academy, join today for $100 off. Elephant Academy, elephantjournal.com/academy. You know, whatever you care about will flower. And you can actually challenge people. You can have tough dialogues. You can be wrong. I can be wrong. We can learn together. You can teach me. I can teach you. It becomes this, like, you're kind of dancing or making love or something with the whole world or the community. And you find out that there's tons of people out there who care. And you don't feel so alone. You don't feel so frustrated. And, you know, the most cathartic and beautiful, simple thing, it's just the personal. It's just, you know, you sitting on all that should. At some point you're going to write. And you're going to be like, oh my God, that felt so good. Like, you know, we need Elephant Academy shirts to say, like, writing better than sex. Because genuine good sex is hard to beat, but no pun intended. You know, I don't know. I think that was some masturbation thing in there. But writing is that feeling. It's like, it's a crescendo, just like in classical music or awful club music or great club music. You know, it comes through you. It's not you, but it is you. And when it goes out, you're relieved, you're lighter, you're more yourself, and people can learn from that experience with you. And that's just magic. That's alchemy, which is a word that is misused by hippie Caucasian shamans.
So you mentioned, like, being wrong and being able to have those, like, hard conversations. And I think that's one of the great and hard things about the internet, is that you get that feedback, and that can be wonderful, and it can allow you to make these wonderful connections. But I sometimes am hesitant to write things because I'm afraid that it'll be, like, too controversial or whatever. So do you have, like, how do you feel if do you ever look at what you've written and think like, oh, I wish I didn't publish that? Or do you just take that all as, like that was me at the time and I've learned from it if it's something I don't agree with now, or I stand by it even though it was tough and I'm glad I got to work through those conversations?
I mean, 99.9% of the time, I definitely don't regret it. It's just my voice and it's just me being genuine and trying to learn. And it's not like I'm not like making pronouncements.
Mm-hmm.
Like, red is good, blue is bad. And then like 10 years later, you look back and you're like, what? Blue is great. Red is awful. You don't regret your writing in that way. It's just who you are at that time. It's sort of almost like looking at a scrapbook when you look at really old writing. You might laugh at your, hairsprayed bangs in high school or something, but you don't hopefully hate yourself. And if you do, you can write about that and make friends with that. But yeah, once in a while, like I cover a lot of current events.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely get hated on by some people, also people I respect. Like, it's not just haters. It's like, I get in trouble all the time. And I'm not proud of that, which would connote some sort of arrogance, but I'm definitely proud that Elephant is not a smoothie site, which I talk about all the time, that we're not just doing recipes about like, oh, put your turmeric into the thing and, drink your privilege. You'll love it. Like, we're actually talking about things that matter sometimes, not all the time. We don't need to be stuck up, but we're writing about tough issues. We're writing about climate change. We're writing about abortion. We're writing about Trump. We're writing about stuff, but not in this like partisan hate fest kind of way. So there's a big middle ground, as I think one of those great poets said, Rumi, meet me in the field, or something's happening or nothing's happening, whatever the poem was. I think I nailed it. Yeah. And, where there's no like firm answers, where there's open mind. And that's sort of what the Elephant community is, which is the opposite of Facebook, the opposite of Instagram, the opposite of Twitter, where everyone's sort of trying to like soapbox wittily and take each other down. Like, Elephant Journal community, I hope, is a huge community of mindful people, black, brown, white, tall, short, curvy, thin, whatever, all over the world, just people trying to come together to wake up a little bit together. And I love that. So that's not so much about the Academy, but I just love that there's a community that is trying to actually have hard dialogue sometimes. So do you mess up? Yeah, for sure. But I don't know. I don't feel that bad about messing up, because hopefully that messing up isn't coming out of denigrating others. It's just like, oh, I didn't really know everything then. And I don't know everything now, and neither do you, and neither does anyone. Like, every year, I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful to have learned this thing. How could I have not known this for 45 straight years? And
then that's something you can write about and tell everybody that you didn't know about, and look at this awesome thing.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, it's amazing. Like, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I learned about lath and plaster and how that's like a eco-traditional way to build homes. And of course, I knew lath existed and I knew plaster, but I didn't think about it. And then I learned that drywall is like toxic formaldehyde, and plywood has all that. And it's all crap. Like, all new building materials are awful, kind of like asbestos was cool back in the 30s and 40s. So it's nice to know that stuff. And then I can write about eco home building or renovation or whatever. And it can be affordable. It doesn't have to be a yuppie thing. So I'm all over the place. We should wrap up, because Vanessa has to upload, download, edit, post all this, and I don't want to age her prematurely. But, on behalf of many, many, many readers out there in the whole world who are also human beings who just don't know your writing, I would like to ask you to write one thing in the next 24 hours.
I'll be up all night. No pressure.
No, just sit down and write about the problem. 20 minutes. That's it. No pressure. Look at that look on her face. You see the pressure on her face. Write about the pressure. Write about the feeling that gives you, and then be done. Make sure it's not good. Your goal should be to write something not that good. Like, your perfectionism bar should not be allowed to enter the room unless you write about it.
This is the last thing I'll say, and then we really will wrap up for Vanessa's sanity. That reminds me of a wonderful thing that one of our apprentices actually last session said, that her husband was reviewing her writing one time and just said, like, this is really not your best writing. And she was like, that was exactly what I needed to hear, was just that like sometimes I write stuff that sucks. And so that is like such a relief to hear sometimes, that you don't always have to write things that are amazing, but you can still practice your craft and get stuff down on paper and then, you know, move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I'll just add something, because that's true, but I feel like that's a middle stage. I think the final stage you get to, like in Zen, they say first you see the mountain, then you see through the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
The mountain doesn't exist. And then the highest stage is you see the mountain again. So what they're saying is first you think the mountain is solid. Everything's important and solid, my ego, blah, you know. Then you say, oh, it's not solid. I can just relax. Then you say, oh, the mountain does exist, but I don't have to. I can still take life with a little bit of humor and light touch. And I think with writing, like, you know, the craft thing is good, but let's not overstate it. You're sitting down, writing with a pen or going like this with your fingers, and you're just communicating. So in Buddhism, they always say, like, don't make yourself a big project. Like in meditation, you're not a big project. Just sit. Nothing's happening. So that's kind of, I do want people to know that you can get to a point where everything you write ever is your voice. It's not perfect, but it is just your voice, and it's good. It's fine. And what you say or what you feel may be mistaken, or may have to improve there, but your voice just becomes like, you know, some instrument. Like if you sit down and play piano just for yourself or your family, you're not trying to be perfect probably, but you enjoy it, you know? This is me playing a piano. Like the Marx Brothers. All right. Well, thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you.
Who rarely writes. I look forward to reading your piece over the next 24 hours.
Yes.
And all of us have to hold her to that. Please, with the power of your prayers, we can get Emily to unburden herself. Thank you, everyone. Last day to join Elephant Academy. It's a great way to start the new year, new decade, February and March. Write with me, get a mentor, get a small group, get a big live meetings. What else am I forgetting?
Elephant editors. Yeah,
you get the services of the Elephant editors, and you get to write and publish to millions of readers. No pressure. And it's fun. It's pretty affordable, and today it's $100 off. So if you want to take the leap, elephantjournal.com/academy. Emily Bartran, thank you so much.
Thank you, Waylon.
And thank you, everyone who watched more than 38 seconds. Shall we end with a bow?
Yes.
Okay. A bow of respect. Good?